Today, I'm going to be telling about a story about what my dad taught me that helped me not to get overwhelmed with my job. So stick around as I get back to the basics of how to control the job and not let the job control you. I just want to kind of get back to the root of what this channel was about when I first started, and I was just sharing with you and telling you about my experiences and different things that helped me in this. My dad said something to me when I was about 14 years old that really helped me in my whole career as an adult and growing up in my work ethic and how to go about things. I've used the statement many times on this channel and different videos and different things I've said, and I've used this statement, and that statement was this right here: you control the job, don't let the job control you. You see, when I was about 14 years old, when my dad, he was a concrete finisher, and I grew up around that, and I worked that job in the summer, and I worked several years after I graduated high school until I actually got a job as a custodian, and I finally got out of construction work. I didn't want to do that all my life, very hard work. But the picture I want to paint is this, that the lesson that I learned that's helped me be a custodian, and it's to not get overwhelmed with it at times, and I still do. But this little story that I'm fixing to share with you right here, it helped me so many times not to get overwhelmed. So here it goes. We had this place that we had to fill in with gravel before we could pour concrete because it had a big hole. So they brought a town dump truck of rock and gravel in that we had to move by hand because there was no other way that we could get a tractor or anything in there. So we began to fill a wheelbarrow up with a shovel. And then we would roll it to where we needed to dump it, and we would dump it. And I asked my dad, I said, Dad, how in the world are we going to get this hole filled up with all this gravel? And his answer to me changed my life, changed the way that I looked at things, and helped me in my adult life. And it was this. He said, one shovelful at a time, son. That's exactly how we're going to do it. So I took that analogy, I took that one thing that he said to me, one shovelful at a time, and I've applied it to my jobs that I've had throughout the years. When we walk up to a building to clean, or we walk up to any task that we have in life, sometimes we can get very overwhelmed. And I've used that statement, don't let that job control you, you control it. Well, I look at that statement right there as one shovelful at a time. I've got all these halls that I've got to clean. I've got all these bathrooms I've got to clean. I've got all these classrooms I've got to clean. I've got all these things I've got to do. Yes, it's a lot to do, but how am I going to get that done? One thing at a time. One thing. So here's what I do when I walk into a building and I've got to clean it. These are kind of the steps that I take. Now, I'm not talking about a very deep clean. There's a time for that, but I'm just talking about a daily clean. So I'm walking into this building and I'm looking at all that I have to do. The classrooms that's got to be swept out, the classrooms that need to be mopped, and all that needs to be touched while I'm in this building, the bathrooms that have to be cleaned. So the first thing I'm going to do is this: not get overwhelmed. I'm going to observe how bad the building is, what needs to be done, what's the most important thing that needs to be done at the moment that I'm in here. How can I take the time that I have in this building and use it as wisely as I possibly can? Now, everything you're fixing to see me do here is just suggestions. You do what works for you. You know your work area. You know your buildings. You know how much time you have. What I am doing is just kind of laying out here kind of a way to do things and an order of things that works for me. And if you can take that and it works for you, that's great and fine. But you've got to adjust things for you and according to what your supervisors want for you to do in a timely manner that you have. Now, the procedures that I'm taking here is just what I do in a daily cleaning. Now, if I was doing a deep cleaning, I would be starting at the ceiling and coming down. But what I'm doing today in a daily cleaning is this: is I'm going in and I'm dust mopping my offices, my classrooms, my hallways, getting my floors clean and ready to be mopped. Now, this is optional here. You can go ahead and mop your room while you're here, Or you can go through your whole building. If your building is empty, you can do this and mop all your classrooms at once. Just make sure that you change your water in between if it starts getting soiled. But for me, I like to do everything while I'm in the classroom that I'm at. That way I know I have not missed anything. I go ahead and straighten everything up while I'm here. Just go ahead and wipe my tables down and mop my floors and just get it all done while I'm here. And I don't have to come back. It's taken care of. Just doing each classroom one at a time, doing each one of these steps one at a time, it doesn't become overwhelming. Really. You just move to the next office, classroom, or whatever you're cleaning and repeat the same steps over, and it won't become overwhelming. I mean, to me, it's just like Dad told me, moving that big old pile of gravel, one shovelful at a time. It's just one classroom at a time. It's just one thing at a time. The whole coolest thing about this whole thing is, to me, this works in many areas of your life. I mean, not just what I'm doing right here, but I mean, it works in so many different things that, if we just take things in our life just one thing at a time, my goodness, multitasking is a good thing to have, but, sometimes we can get so much going that we can't be effective in anything that we're doing, and we can look at a task, we can look at things, and it will just absolutely swallow us whole. But you can see, I went from sweeping to vacuuming my roads, vacuuming my offices, vacuuming everything that needed to be vacuumed. All my floor stuff is done here. It's just the next step. One thing I like to do after I get done sweeping and vacuuming my offices and sweeping my halls and everything is I like to go outside and blow my sidewalks and everything off, because if somebody comes in the building, I don't want them bringing any outside trash in on my clean roads or my clean floor. And also, before I get ready to mop my halls, I always clean my bathrooms first, because I may get some water drips or whatever out in the hall in the process of cleaning my bathroom. So I always make it a point that the bathrooms get cleaned before the halls get mopped. And I almost forgot to clean the water fountains before it was time to mop the halls as well. So I always make sure I do my water fountains, clean windows, or anything like that before I run my auto scrubber or I hand mop my halls every how that you do that. I always want to make sure that my halls are the last thing that I do. Then I just do a quick sweep over the building and check everything, check my halls, and make sure that I have done everything that needs to be done in those, and they're ready for the next day for students to come in or office personnel to come in the building. So those are key things, just one step at a time, one thing at a time, and you will not get overwhelmed, because if you don't control it, who's going to? One shovelful at a time, fill that wheelbarrow up. One shovelful at a time. Have a great day. I hope this helps.